coming on. How
You're welcome.
glorious it is to always see your smile, especially on a Sunday morning. So thank you.
You're
Um,
welcome.
I know who you are and we've chatted before, but I was just going to say, please just share with others who might be meeting you for the first time, who you are, what you do, and all the wonders of your work.
Well, so who am I? I'm Mars, like the planet, not the chocolate, 'cause I'm not that sweet. And people say, no, you are, but really, I'm not. And I am a lover of people. I think I might like red wine and red meat more, but I kind of like people. I'm a doula educator, a birth activist. I believe in colouring in the landscape of birth. For too long, all the imagery has been incredibly white. In many places, it remains incredibly white. In some places, they've kind of gone the opposite way and filled their website with nothing but black and brown images, but have absolutely nothing to do with black and brown people. So who knows what that's about. Mother to 5, nonna to 1. My 5 children are beginning to realise that I now have only one love, and that's Rafi, the grandbaby, who was 8 months yesterday, and he's fat, and he's laughing, and he's giggling, and he's eating his toes, and he's sitting up, and he's failing to crawl. He looks like a dead fish out of water flapping around. And yeah, he's my main focus in life.
Yeah.
But yes, and so I'm a doula. So a doula, for those that don't know, is a professional birth companion. So in short, that's the sort of short version. We support people along their pregnancy, birth and postnatal journeys.
Yeah, and just to clarify for those who haven't come across the term doula, a doula is with you in birth as well. So
Yes.
They can be with you before birth and after birth, but they specifically also support people during birth. So they are
during birth and labour. Yeah.
Yeah, they're your person.
Don't forget the wonderful postnatal doulas, because one of the things that I do is I train postnatal doulas.
Yes.
And abuela doulas are there to nurture and nourish the birthing family. So it's not about doing a couple of chores and holding a baby. It's about making sure that that person is truly loved and nourished in those early days and weeks after birth. So yeah, so we do birth work, postnatal work.
And it's so important, those early days, those early weeks. And if I could go back and hear about a postnatal doula when I had my first baby, I think, you know, that is the one thing I think would have really, at that stage, massively helped me transition. Yeah. And I just didn't even know they existed. So it's wonderful to be able to let other people know that this is there, and it is so useful, particularly if, you know, like many of us, we're not necessarily having lots of other people around us, and maybe family are further away, and we're, you know, the first in our peers to maybe be having babies and doing it that way. It's incredibly useful to have that source of support and nourishment. So I wanted to chat to you today, Mars, because well, I always want to chat to you anyway, but I particularly wanted to talk to you about choices at the moment, because I know this is something that you share a lot about. And it's something we keep being asked about, which are these, you know, how can we support ourselves if we're going through these transitions? You know, we're pregnant, we're coming into birth, we're coming out of birth. How can we try and support ourselves with choices, with options that feel right for us, when perhaps at this time maybe there are limits in terms of what may be being offered where we are? And I just wanted to maybe gain some of your thoughts and perspective about what you think people might be able to do.
Well, the first thing I think that people should do is stop listening to other people. Everyone wants to tell you their story. Everyone wants to tell you how it happened, why it happened for them. Mostly people are debriefing experiences they've had rather than sort of sharing things that may or may not be helpful to you. It's not their intention. It's just this switch goes on, you know. I'm pregnant and I'm, oh, well, and it all sort of comes flying out. So firstly, stop listening to other people's stories, because you don't know what your story is going to be like. I think I tell my clients, look, why don't you just simply say, I would love to hear your story, and I'll listen to your story when I've got my story to share. Yeah. So do it that way. Anyway, so choices, things that you can do. Oh, give me 2 seconds. I left my water too far away.
Oh.
Okay, there we go. Back again.
There we go.
So things that I think you can do. First of all, I think make a list, whether it's pen and paper, whether it's on a computer, whether it's just something that you say to your partner or to someone else out loud, of the things that you don't want, the things that you really don't want, and put them to one side. And now make a list of the things that you do want. And then think about how might that work during this time, because choice more than ever is important, but feels like it's being eroded during COVID times. So what's important to you? What do you want? Do you want to birth at home? Do you want to birth in the birth centre? Do you want to birth in the hospital? Do you want to birth with anyone at all? So decide what you want. Think about the pros and the cons of both, of each option. Why would this be good for me? Why would this not be? So that you're making your decision. Start that way rather than looking at what everyone else around you is saying and what people are saying is possible and isn't possible. Now that you've sort of thought about your place of birth, make your plan B for that. So you might plan to give birth at home, but circumstances may change, and so you may end up needing to birth or wanting to birth in hospital instead. So make the plan B. Now think about your pain management. Listen, just because the idiot programs on TV, the different films, the different TV series, the different documentaries, look at me, I'm a celebrity looking after, being a midwife looking after babies. Doesn't matter what any of those programs say. Forget those programs. What's important to you? So decide that. Then decide what is the thing that I really, really want that I absolutely don't want to do without? What are the things I can compromise on? So you start to craft your plan. Then we were talking about pain management because my brain went off for a moment there. You don't know how you're going to be when you're in labour. You might be the someone who is absolutely determined that you are definitely, without hesitation, going to have an epidural.
Yeah.
And then you might end up giving birth not even puffing on gas and air.
Yeah.
Because you're still waiting to get that thing that you've seen on the TV screen that you've seen somewhere else. So you're still waiting to find out about whether or not you feel those things. So you might not need them. But think of it as a sort of, just a little gentle ladder. And don't take the steps too quickly. If you're thinking about it, like, oh, maybe I want, or maybe wait another half an hour, see how you're feeling. If you're feeling, sod that, Mars, I'm going straight to the top, then go straight to the top. But, take steps, go slowly, see where you are, allow your body to be in that place. When you are tense, pain, the intensity of labour can be worse. So think about your breathing. Think about different things that you could do. You don't need to buy anything special to do these things. People say to me all the time, so Mars, will you teach me how to breathe? And I'm like, well, you seem to be doing a good job at the moment.
Exactly. I mean, we do share breathing techniques and things on here. Like there are free videos of, we just relaxation breathing techniques. And there's loads of good support and evidence base that these are really useful in just giving you grounding tools and also just giving you something you can use, right? As you're experiencing sensations, feelings, you've got something to hold on to.
So you know who you are, you know what's going to work for you, you know whether or not it's something that you want to or can invest in, but I just think, so start by trusting yourself. So now you've thought about your place of birth, now you've thought about your pain management and maybe made your sort of, I'm going to start here and see how long I can stay here and then move up if necessary. Now think about who you want with you. Do you want your partner with you? Does your partner want to be with you? We are so sure that, we absolutely have to have our partner, and our partner's so sure they absolutely have to be with us. But maybe they don't. Maybe they don't want to. I've supported couples where the partner has not come in, and that's been a deliberate choice because they know they don't want to be there. They've waited in waiting rooms, and come in. So think about it honestly.
And I think that's a
Now,
really good thing to think about at the moment, because I know that the whole kind of conversation around partners and things feels really present for a lot of people right now, because there is so much around, you know, partners during birth and when they can come in and appointments and things. So this is really good conversations to be having, those really honest
yeah.
conversations.
And then think about who else you might want with you if you want someone else with you. Do you want a doula? Do you want your mum? Do you want your best friend, etc.? Now, at this point, everyone's going, yeah, but you can't have people with you during COVID, you know. Well, it does really depend on the trust and the hospital that you're with. And some hospitals will allow you still to have your partner and someone else with you.
Yeah.
Others are, I mean, I don't understand their rationale in it. Making your partner wait until you're pushing before the partner's allowed to come in. I mean, if they're going to bring the COVID, if they're going to bring Rona into the birthing room, I don't think it's going to matter if they bring Rona in 3 hours before or on that or in that hour.
Absolutely.
Or that half hour while
And
the
I think a
baby's
lot
being
of trusts
prepared.
are now saying that, aren't they? And they're going, look, let's use common sense around this.
Yeah.
Let's, you know, and so it's really worth just following up on what you said there, Miles, for people to check in with, if whatever hospital they're with, whatever midwife team they're with, like check in with them about what they're saying. And actually also ask them as well, if you feel something's really important to you and you need, you know, they're saying it's one person, but actually for you, you might have other experiences that make it really important for you to have two people there, then it's absolutely fine to say to them, this is really important to me.
And you might have past traumas or reasons to only want a particular number of people in the birth with you, or a particular sex stroke gender of person in with you. You know, your faith and your religion or some past trauma may make you only want female staff, and you can still get those things. But it's important that you start to make your plan so that people know about it. But like you said, talk to the hospital, talk to the trust. What is it that they're saying this week? And then ask again closer to the time of giving birth, and then ask again, because things change. You know, every so often I come across another hospital that's reopened home birth.
Yeah, and it's changing week by week at the moment, isn't it? I mean, every week.
Sometimes it's changing day by day.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, so you need to find out what's going on. So you make your plan A, B, and C. I've always said make your plan A, B, and C, and you just put them on top of each other. So your plan A is, this is what I want. These are the things I want. Think about the smells. Think about the fabrics. Think about the people that you want in with you. Think about the sounds. You know, I remember this fabulous couple. I spotted them twice, and with her first one, all the midwives kept popping in to read her birth plan because they'd heard about her. And I'm like, you know, we really need to just leave this woman in peace. But she was sort of at the early stages. And they came in to read her birth plan because she said, my baby will not be born to the sound of Celine Dion or Robbie Williams. And she said, so if at any stage I need to go for a cesarean section, I've got my playlist, I've got my stuff, so go away and leave me alone. So you decide to craft your plan, you make your plan, and you talk to everybody about it. You make sure your partner's on board with this plan. I think people are feeling like they can't plan, they can't do these things because of COVID. But I think it's more important than ever that you make your plan, that your wishes are heard. Because I hear, and I continue to hear, stories where people are being badly treated and Rona is being used as the excuse. No, we can't be concerned with that because this is going on. Actually, every person that's birthing deserves grace and dignity whilst they're birthing. Every single one. Respect, grace and dignity. So this is something that you should demand of your caregivers. And the vast majority of them want to do that and will give you that. But there's always the one or the two that don't. But frankly, there are people like that in every walk of life. So just because you are a midwife or a doctor, or you're working in a caring profession, or you're a doula, doesn't mean you can't be an arsehole.
Yeah. And actually, it's also okay. Like, this came up in a conversation this week, that if you're finding that your birth partner says, can we have someone else? You know, if you're finding it really hard to get that sense of safety, that sense of trust, and that good kind of relationship with your caregiver at that time, then you can ask for someone else. And you know, sometimes we're not in the place in the midst of birth to be asking our midwives to change. So that's what your birth partner can do, or whoever else is with you supporting you can ask for someone who is going to give you that, because
Absolutely.
that is really that is the base level of safety, isn't it, when you feel respected, heard, and cared for. And that's everyone deserves that.
Yeah, it's how you get the good birth experience, whether it's a vaginal birth or an emergency cesarean. You know, you get a good birth by being listened to, by being heard, by feeling respected, by feeling held, you know. And you know, we know that for black and brown people it's harder to get that. And for some, Rona is a perfect excuse to run roughshod over these people. And that's not something we should have. And I think if you have an experience like that, then, you know, please let me know, because there are those of us that are collecting these stories.
And it's really important to speak up. It is really, I know sometimes it feels like the hardest thing to do because we're at our most vulnerable at that time as well. But actually it is really important. And if you don't feel you can say anything at that time, then contact Mars and you will help, won't you? You'll collect and
you know, we'll collect these things, and I'll talk to you about who good people are to talk through what has happened to you. But on the whole, it all should be well, you know. And I always bring up the disparities, because I think it's important. I think it needs to be in everybody's psyche. It needs to be at the forefront of people's minds, so that they can sort of speak out for others. But I really feel like we're kind of settling in to this COVID period. So in the settling in, what's important to you in your birth, for your birth? Who is it important for you to have with you? Who do you need to talk to? Do you need to talk to the head of midwifery to make sure that your choices are honoured? Because, you know, midwives were already overworked and overstretched before this, and now they've got extra things to do and to be aware of, and there's policies and things coming left, right and centre to do with COVID. So who are you talking to? Are you going to your appointments? Go to your appointments. They're doing everything possible to keep it safe for you and working with good practice. Do you have any niggles about something that's going on in your pregnancy, but you're thinking, I really don't want to go near a hospital because of COVID? Call them, talk to them, get it checked out. The last thing we need is to see you having poorer outcomes because you're not listening to your instinct, which is holding you in good stead, and your instinct, which is telling you that you need to get this checked out.
And the same postnatally too, right? So if you're noticing anything with yourself or your baby after birth as well, exactly the same thing.
Absolutely. You know, so whilst you're making your plan, make your list of people to talk to. Maybe you need to find out who the IBLCs are. And IBLC is an internationally board certified lactation consultant. So find out who the breastfeeding counsellors are, the lactation consultants are, you know, who is giving support online whilst we're still in lockdown, who is able to come out to see you, who is going to be that meal train and drop food off for you post-birth. How are you going to be nurtured through your pregnancy, through the birth and post-birth? Make those plans. Don't think that the only planning you should do is about birthing your baby, because that's, in many ways, that's short-sighted, and that's something that a lot of us fell down on or fall down on, because we're like, oh, I'm going to have a baby. Oh, God, I'm going to have a baby. How's the baby going to come out? Oh, maybe I'll make a plan about how the baby comes out, but we don't make a plan for what happens afterwards. Absolutely. But what's your plan for you? What's your plan for you, for your health? So more than just birthing this baby, what's your plan for you? Who's going to nourish and hold you? Who's going to nurture you? Who's going to look after you in a time where we're not allowed to go into each other's homes? So what can you put in place? Maybe it's that you have someone who is self-isolating just so they can support you during the time of birth and in those early days. You know, make sure that someone is willing to come and drop things off to fill your fridge and freezer. And talking of fridges and freezers, people, when you have your babies, eat and drink warm foods, warm drinks. Got to heal your innards, not freeze them out.
Yeah, it's very true. And actually, I have to say, this is so important. Like, so, you know, this is something we talk about all the time, is we're often like looking at what our choices are in birth, and these are really important. Not so we don't look at that, but actually it's our whole cells that go into birth, and it's our whole cells that come out of birth. And you know, that whole experience for you starts within. It starts with how you're feeling, how safe you're feeling, how held, how nourished. And so this is really, really, it's all part of this journey. It's not like an add-on on the side of
no.
This is all part of it.
You know, some people love spreadsheets and diagrams and pictures. Go for your life. Others, like me, just sort of jot a few things down and think, oh yeah, that'll do for me. But just be clear about the things that you want. Yeah, do it your way. If visual plans work best for you, then make a visual plan. Keep them short. You don't need to talk about, when I met my partner, the stars were shining, the moons were aligned, and this and this, and this is what I really, really want. Just be clear about what you want. Don't say, well, I'd quite like to have, because that sounds like you don't know, and some people may decide that that means it's not important to you. But just say, I would like, this is what we plan, and here's my plan B, and here's my plan C. You know, just, So those are my thoughts really around planning.
And next week, actually, just to say, because it fits better well, in our group, we're actually running a whole week of kind of get equipped. So we're doing a bit of something every day. So if people want a bit of support with that, and they just want to kind of come and think about their well-being and their postnatal, and thinking about some of their choices in birth and making some of their birth preferences, their A's and B's and C's, then you can come and join us. We're doing like a bit of support around that Monday to Friday next week in our group. So that's something
it reminded me, and that reminded me of one extra bit of planning for COVID-19. With pre-Rona, you could come and go, your partner could come in and out and, you know, get food and snacks and things. So I was talking to the wonderful global doula, and she says it's like preparing for a camping trip, but you're going to be camping somewhere where you can't pop into town, where the electricity might not be working, where you know, all you have is what you have with you at the time. So for the partners, your plan is your camping survival plan. So maybe a mat to lie down and sleep on if labour gets long. What foods and snacks are you going to need? And as well as the food and snacks that you're packing for your partner. So what food and snacks are you going to need? Have you got your chargers? Have you got your list of people that you need to get in touch with? But really, that's not the most important thing in the world. Plan it like you're going on a remote camping trip and you can't get out once you have started. So and what do you need that's going to keep you in that will allow you to stay in that room? For 24 hours. You can't even
walk to the cafe. You can't, you know, once you're in that ward, you are in. So really, and also plan
the cafes aren't open for people.
No,
the cafes are only open for staff. So, you know, so make your plan to camp in that room for at least 24 hours. Better to be over-prepared than under-prepared. So that's the other plan that you make. So you've got the birthing plan, the postnatal plan, but you also need okay, I'm the partner supporting you and I've got my camping plan for that room.
And actually as well, one of the things we suggest as partners, also think about who their emotional support's going to be, who's going to nourish them in and out, because when you are holding all that space and really kind of being that person, you need to keep your own cup filled as well. And it's really important to consider yourselves as like a bit of a team in that space. So everyone needs to have their sense of who's going to hold them in it too. So it's really, really useful to think about. I wanted to ask one more thing, actually, and we sort of touched on it before, but this is something that is coming up a lot in conversations, and it's particularly for those who are Black and brown coming into this space, and there is so much on the news, and there is so much, you know, talk about the sort of sense of being in this particularly vulnerable group, this additional vulnerable group, and the anxiety that's naturally bring up on top of what was already there. You know, there are already inequalities there, and now this seems to have just heightened further. And I think there is a lot coming up for people who are feeling naturally, with all of this going on, this additional anxiety. And I just wondered what words or thoughts you had for those birthers.
Well, if it can be considered a positive side effect, side effect of COVID-19 is that the conversation about Black and brown bodies is high news at the moment. So people are looking at things that they can do to improve it. But do not believe for a second that it is because your body is black or brown that it is not doing well. It is because you are perceived to be black or brown why you do not do well. So it's not your body. As honestly, if you're going to fangirl over anyone on Instagram, Dr. Christina Ketchy, that's who I fangirl over, right? And as Dr. Christina Ketchy says, a few levels of melanin, it makes no sense that a few extra levels of melanin in the skin should cause you to have bad outcomes. It's high on the agenda. I'm hearing midwives and doctors talking about it, talking about the things that they're doing to make things safer, that they're having a lower threshold for responding to black and brown people. A lower threshold meaning if someone black or brown says, I'm feeling this, they're actually going to start listening. And actually, frankly, I don't think it's a lower threshold. I think they're just giving us the same listening that they're giving to our white counterparts. But let's call it lower threshold because it makes everybody feel good. But so they are primed to listen and to hear more. But if you feel that you're not getting good treatment because you're black or you're brown, you simply, if they refuse to treat you for anything, in fact, even if you are white, get them to document it in your notes that they're refusing to treat you. If because of your skin they are treating you badly, you simply say, you've heard the Embrace report, haven't you? And you're seeing the things that they're talking about with COVID and black and brown people and marginalised and vulnerable communities. How are you going to prevent me from being one of those statistics? Nothing makes them sit up more than being told, I know you, what you're doing, I see you. I see you. And now I need you to see me and make sure that me and my baby come out of this safely.
Yeah. And to be heard and seen. And we talked about that at the very beginning. And this is so much around what this is, isn't it? It's about being fully present, seen, heard and held in your wholeness for your experience.
Yeah. But I will say this, particularly when it comes to maternity. Maternal mortality is rare. It's really, really low. It's just that our statistics within that really, really low figure are disproportionately high.
Yes.
So it doesn't mean that 20% of black people are going to die when they have babies or have bad outcomes.
Yeah.
It is
really
something we need to keep, it's something we need to keep talking about and thinking about. But during your pregnancy, right now, as you're moving towards having your birth, knowing all of those things, remember that it's incredibly rare. But you have things that you can do. So you can tell people to stop. You can decline. You can insist on being heard. And when they won't hear you, when they won't diagnose, when they won't move, get them to write it in your notes. Because if they have a doubt that maybe this is something they ought to look at, and you've said, I want you to document that you're not going to do anything, then they're more likely to do something. But know that people are working for the change, and it's not the individuals, it's the system and the structure that's buggered. And it's the system and the structure that we need to continue to fight about and look to mend. But so it's really rare, it's really low, and my wish is that you have a peaceful birth and that you don't become one of those statistics.
Absolutely.